To be informed is to be empowered. And when you're empowered, you have better leverage to be engaged more. And here at Speak Up Afrika, we continue to bring you conversations that aim to do exactly that. Now, as we continue to have discourse around leadership and governance, the role that women play in politics stands out in a unique and in a vulnerable way. Today, we want to see what role do women do play in the political scene, and why is it important for us to have the female gender well represented in the political scene? To help me unpack the conversation today is Wilkister Aduma. She will be in the ballot for the Woman Representative position here in Nairobi, the capital of Kenya. And we want to see what does this mean? How are we preparing to go there? And what do women really go through? Wilkister, welcome to Speak Up Afrika.
Thank you so much.
Probably you can introduce yourself and let our listeners know who you are and what your journey has been.
Okay. My name is Aduma Wilkister. I am running for Woman Representative, Nairobi County. I am a mother, soon to be a wife, and an advocate for the rights of youth and women.
Great. Congratulations, actually, for, when you speak into yourself, your personality, and who you are, some of these titles do actually work against women who go into the political scene. You're a wife, why don't you stay home and take care of your house? You're a mom, why politics? It's too dirty, it's for men. Why the woman representative seat for you?
What you say now just paints for me a picture when I tried to run in 2018 in a by-election. And my mother had the same views, why are you running? And so I ended up not running then. And so in 2026, this year, when I spoke to my mother about running, because there's something about parental blessings before you run, she's been the most excited person ever. And for me, why the woman representative seat is because, one, I have been working with women the past 7 years. All I have done is advocate for the rights of youth and for the rights of women. And there's a huge gap in terms of how women have been represented, even in terms of the debate that we're having currently, whether, the woman representative seat is actually necessary in the National Assembly. And so my thing is to come and show people how it can be done, because we have not seen impacts, positive impacts. Yes, there are a few of the woman representative seat, because it has been reduced to tokenism as opposed to public policy and setting up systems that can work for women. Because we're talking about Nairobi, the largest by population in Kenya. We're talking about a hub for multinational companies. We're talking about, a capital of East Africa, not just Kenya itself.
Yeah.
And so looking at the contribution of women economically in Nairobi alone is enough for me to say that I can help women. I can legislate. I can put policies and systems in place to make sure that women are better able to show up economically, because their contribution to the GDP of the country and Nairobi's contribution to the same is very large. And so we cannot assume the role of women, and we cannot reduce women to sewing machines. We cannot reduce women to sanitary towels. There's so much more.
Okay. Let's unpack a few things that you've said. There's growth. If your mom is now excited for you being in the ballot, does it mean that there's a probability that generally the society has opened up to women getting to powerful positions and being in the forefront of conversations?
By and large, I think it's becoming almost normal, except that there are so many other barriers that make it hard for women to show up in political spaces, and more so for elective office. The fear for my mother in 2018 when I attempted to run was political violence, because she did not know that she could guarantee my safety away from herself. So it became a huge concern for her. And for that reason, she was very uneasy about the running, which eventually led to my not running.
Yeah.
This year, however, I think because of the opening up of spaces, the opening up of minds, and some of the positive changes we've seen contributed by women, not only in this country, but also across the globe. I feel like these events have opened up women to seeing things differently, to being more acceptable of women themselves running. Because, like you were asking earlier, you're a mother, why don't you stay home and take care of the child? Why don't you nurture? But there's so much more. Like I said, I don't think it's a gender issue. I think it's a human issue, because at the end of the day, when we sit down on tables, we want to have policies that respond to everyone in the population of this country. And so we cannot do that if we do not have substantive leadership, and if we do not have representative leadership, where the people who are being spoken about are on that table speaking to those matters themselves.
Okay. I absolutely love your responses, and really, really, they speak power to the female gender. Let's draw it down to the political scenes we've had in our country. The most ladies, women who have been elected to the woman representative positions have come out as though they don't understand why they were elected, because once they get into office, we don't see them executing the mandate that they have. Number two, they have been, quote unquote, reduced to sexual objects from expressions that are given on campaign trails, when politicians are having gatherings. Even the introduction of a female candidate to the podium has really been sexualized. Are we enablers of that, Wilkister?
I think because the space is very, very much still male dominated. I mean, I sit in meetings where I am the only woman sometimes. I sit in meetings where I see two women, myself and maybe one other. And it's in meetings where we're talking about either strategies on, running campaigns, or just generally the politic of the country. And so we need to move from just one woman or just two or a handful to critical mass. That for me is when we start to see truly this is the contribution of women, because I can do my part in making sure that, I fulfill my mandate as a woman representative as per the Constitution. But I can also do this with other women, not necessarily together, even apart, but the impact is felt across board. And I think sometimes we also may be too harsh on women, because if you ask me, men have been leading this country for over 50 years, over 50 years. And, and this country has gone to the dogs, very many times. And so for us to think that in any negative way, that the leadership of women will not add much value, then we are so far from the truth. And it saddens me also to see that, when a woman is being introduced to speak in public rallies, that there's sexualization of women, because at the end of the day, you cannot reduce someone to a sexual object. I mean, women don't sit around and reduce men to sexual objects.
Wilkister, let me ask. There's this famous song that is really being used during political rallies right now, the Siaka Siaka thing, yeah?
Yes.
And we've seen some political leaders being rallied around by women, going around and literally... How does that make you feel, honestly? Because we are, even now, as we're expressing it, we're trying to be as decent as possible, because I sometimes watch those videos and cringe. Is the society reducing us, or are we reducing ourselves?
There's something called internalized patriarchy, that sometimes even you as a person do not know that you're propelling patriarchy itself. So I do not want to blame women for how they act. But what we can do differently, and it's women across board, because when we look at, I think the Siaka Siaka was a presser, where they were either from Makueni or Machakos, I can't remember clearly. we need to refuse to be used. And which is why, for me, one of the important things is women setting agenda. Because we rally around other people's agenda. We don't have a woman's agenda on the table. And so that becomes a problem, because when there's an agenda set by the other gender, then we are showing up to support that agenda the best way they want to see it supported. Because for lack of a better phrase, sex sells. And people who are consuming news want to see that. For watu wanapenda vipindi. So kipindi ikiwa, that's when people want to listen. But when there's serious discourse on, the same matter, because it was a presser on an important issue,
But that is what really stood out of the whole thing.
Yeah. I honestly, if you ask me at this point, I don't know what they were talking about. I just saw the siaka and the dance and nothing after that.
Same. I agree.
And it's also an opportunity for women to see who exactly we are, because we're talking about a population that is over 50% women in this country. We're talking about a number that can actually elect credible candidates across the 6 political seats that we're going to elect. We're talking about grassroots mobilizers, because it is women who mobilize votes,
Yeah.
Even men make this joke about, when women say they're going to vote for you, they vote for you.
Ujue uko ndani.
Mama mboga, kabla ende biashara hiyo siku, Mama mboga will be there at 5 a.m. to make sure they've queued to vote.
Yeah.
And so there's a power in women that we are yet to harness ourselves, that we are yet to believe in ourselves, because once we see things differently, then we'll be able to sit down and shift the politics of this country, and perhaps not be used in the way that we are being used. And I think, just like you, I'm trying to look for the clean words to not make it
Yeah.
to not make the conversation seem so, so bad.
Yeah.
However, I do not think all is lost. I think it is an awareness that is starting to build. And I even love the way that awareness has been building in the Gen Z movement, in the Gen Z segment. I think millennials try a bit, but the things that are being enjoyed now by generations have been cultivated by the generations before us. Policies that have been made by generations before us. It's just going to take an awakening, a switch, if you ask me, a very small switch. Ni light bulb to ding, and we are all in the same breath, believing the power that we hold. Because anyone who's campaigning now will tell you, Gen Z wataongeleshwa mwisho, youth wataongeleshwa mwisho. So if you're millennial, if you're youth in that 18 to 35 year bracket, it's not the time when they want to engage you. Politicians will engage you at the very last moment. Do you know who they're engaging now? Grassroots women mobilizers. Those are the kingmakers. And we dare sit as women and think that we can be reduced to, what is currently being done to us in the political space. I think we just need to wake up.
Yesterday, I was having a conversation with a colleague of mine, and they told me their parents literally told them, they expressed their disappointment in the Gen Zs and said, I don't think you guys will have much of an impact in the 2027 general election as a candidate in the forthcoming election. What do you think about the rise of Gen Z? And, right now it's like everything is Gen Z. It's like the buck stops with them. But there are people who are saying, honestly, kwa ground, I don't think you guys really matter, because then you will not show up and create a difference. Where do you stand with this demographic of people as a candidate?
I believe in young people, just like I believe in women. So I cannot dismiss Gen Z. What I see, though, is that the way young people are organizing is not in the way that will allow us, or rather the way that we capture power at the end of the day. Because when you look at how women are organizing themselves, you either find them in chamas, actually mostly in chamas, social welfare groups, social groups. So it is easy for women to be targeted. In the same breath, it is easy for women to come up and set agenda, which is, the flip side of what must happen. for young people, it is not easy to find us in those groupings, you know. And the groupings that young people have are very transient. It's not something you want to hold on to for a long time. I mean, I don't know if you remember the friends you had in first year of campus.
Barely in communication, though.
Exactly. But the way women have been able to bring themselves together, I think young people need to emulate that, so that then we become consequential in the elections of this country. Because the argument of politicians is that young people are not a constituency. So when it gets down to I am running for woman rep, I am looking at sub-counties or constituencies across Nairobi.
Yeah.
So when I look at those, where are young people? Young people are some in institutions of higher learning, because Nairobi does host a good number of
them.
institutions of
Yeah.
higher learning, but do all of them vote in Nairobi?
No.
Yeah. So there are questions like that when it comes down to you asking yourself and how you draw down the strategy of your voter contact. They become almost a very small segment of what needs to be targeted. However, for me, like I said, I believe in young people, and I will not relent to, tell young people to show up. As someone who has been involved in the advocacy of youth rights, it will make me very happy, whether they vote for me or against me, to see
If they
young
show
people
up.
actually show up and their voices heard on the ballot. Because even the last protest that we had, the number of young people that showed up on the street was very small. And it was not small because young people did not want to show up. One, it's because of how the old guard have organized against Gen Z. We had a whole conversation about goons and how goons were going to be mobilized to disrupt the peaceful protests that young people were hoping to have. And it was very hard for young people to get through that.
Yeah.
And so a lot of them did not show up, also because people do not want to die. I mean, I think I heard you say that you're better off alive contributing to this country. And so if we're able to think differently about organizing, if we're able to cocoon in groups that can then propel conversations forward. And I have seen a few, by the way. I have seen a few. There's a space called Attic that invited me for their conversations maybe a year ago. And there were young people who were meeting up at 7 a.m., the Gen Z, and talking about, how to improve their own lives, opportunities for employment, improvement of their own skills. I was so jazzed, by the way. I couldn't believe there were Gen Z meeting up that early to talk about how to better their own
dedication.
lives. Yeah. And even passing opportunities to each other.
Yeah.
And so if we could organize differently in that way, so that even when Wilkister Aduma comes to you and says, look, I am running for woman rep, you're able to interrogate what she is about.
Yeah.
You're able to interrogate whether her manifesto at the end of the day is going to serve the people. Perhaps it's not you directly, but it's going to serve the people, and it's meant for greater and common good.
Okay.
And so I think that organizing,
is what will bring the difference.
It is what will bring the difference. Just like we're talking about opposition falling apart, that's the same way that young people need to organize, so that we are not dismissed because we are not together.
And I guess these two really mirror each other, because even with the opposition, people are getting to a place where they are saying, so which direction are we taking? As much as there is the element of we don't want to announce early so that we are not distracted, the momentum is dying off, because then who is our leader? And I remember when the Gen Z uprising came about, the notion was we are leaderless, we are tribeless, we are partyless, but that in the end was not sustainable. I guess that gave it a place of infiltration. Let's bring in what makes us a bit vulnerable. Campaign financing being one of it. I mean, I have talked and listened to female leaders saying, even you going out to mobilize, still it's, are you married? What is your partner saying about this? So how do we give you this funding? Then what opportunities will we get? How do we bridge this gap for women, Wilkister?
I think the conversation on opportunity will not end. And I think actually that's what voters need to be interrogating. What opportunities lie here for me, for us, as women, as voters. So for the conversation still remains that women must still interrogate the things that we're hearing at the end of the day. Sorry, I lost my train of thought on campaign financing a bit. Women must still interrogate what's in it for us. And I think I saw the IBC talk about what they are capping spending for presidential campaign on, and it's such a huge amount of money. It's in the billions, and it's ridiculous because even Sifuna himself said some time ago that the amount of money that we're spending in politics is high because of the amount of money that is used in handouts. So that mobilization is bringing people together. Bringing people together is not difficult, I can go to Madari today, I can go to Mabatini Ward today and say, look, I wish to speak to women, and women will show up. It's not difficult for women to show up.
Will they show up without the handouts?
Now that's the point.
Okay.
They show up with an expectation of getting handouts. And that's a problem and a system that has been created by the old order. Because who does it serve to have an electorate that wants handouts before you speak to them or after you speak to them? We saw the young person who got killed the other day, a mobilizer who I think got into the PSS car because of the amount of money that was given was not enough for the young people that were there. And those are the conversations that we need to interrogate ourselves, because I cannot tell you that every voter is a saint, because I have gotten to places where I was not abducted, but I was held at a certain point, not at gunpoint. But I was told you cannot live here because haujaongea na sisi ndo wa huku. You understand?
Imagine.
So it
and
means kuongea meant you have to give money, because before you enter here, it's us who run this street. It's us who run the street. So give us our dues. And the crowds that we've been seeing politicians mobilize right from the days before the clamor for the new constitution, the yes and no camps, a lot of those crowds are mobilized using money. They're not mobilized because they are
people believe in the cause of what you're saying.
Exactly that. People believe in the cause of what is being said. I cannot dismiss that they are diehards of ODM, for example. I cannot dismiss that they are diehards of DCP. I cannot dismiss that they are diehards of Jubilee. However, those diehards often you need numbers to make it look like the diehards are big, because again, politics is optics. If you look like Maraga on a track waving to trees, then you don't look like you're
a potential candidate.
You're a potential candidate.
You're not sellable.
You're not sellable. Actually, you're not buyable.
Okay. Yeah.
Because you're truly trying to sell, but how it's landing to voters is you're not capable of this. Because you've not mobilized a crowd. However, you can just show up at a market and say, I want to talk to 3 people here today. I'm coming here to talk to Mama Mboga, Mzee wa Smoky, na Mama Mtumba. Those are the people I've come to talk to. And so this belief that we have to see crowds around a rally, and you think those crowds are organic, a lot of them are mobilized. And by mobilized, I mean they are paid to attend. They are hired crowds. So hired crowds cost a lot of money. Imagine today if you're running for president and you have to hire crowds across each of the 47 counties. Break it down even further to the sub-counties. Break it down even further to the wards. Break it down even further to villages. How much money do you think you're going to spend? And how much money do you think you're going to give people? Because right now, even those people tell you, sisi tuko na rate card. We have a rate card. Iyo 500 tuliwacha kitambo.
Iyo saizi hapana. So Wilkister, as you speak, I'm really reflecting on the journey we have to take to change this country. The other day, we saw the MP for Langata saying, siasa ya sai ni ka uko na pesa, ka una hela usiongee. And for him, he contributed 3.5 million for Robert Alai. And Kenyans were clapping. Good thing is, on social media, people were asking, why are we clapping yet our hospitals don't have medicine? Our kids can't go to school. We don't have work. That is taxpayers' money that is being used in the wrong way. But those are the same taxpayers who are sitting in those barazas or whatever and clapping. How do we bridge this gap, honestly, Wilkister? Where do we even start the journey? Because it's like night and day. The discrepancy is so huge. And I don't know, do you think Kenyans are vulnerable and that's why we're being used like that?
There's definitely an aspect of vulnerability. If I use Nairobi as an example, Nairobi is a city of contrasts. On one hand, we are the capital of East Africa. We are hosting multinational companies, diplomatic missions, fintech companies, all of that. On the other hand, there are people waking up in the morning to travel such long distances to get to work. There are women living with their children on their backs so that they can show up in the market. There are some staying home because they have no one to leave children with. We're looking at the cost of transport being very high, the cost of housing being very high, the cost of food being very high. And those two contrasts can explain to you exactly why are people showing up and clapping in those spaces. Because if you ask me, the people I see on social media commenting are not the people I meet when I go to talk to people. Those are two very different crowds. And I can say to some extent, there's an aspect of, poverty dehumanizing us and reducing us to the point where, if you give me something small, I'll sing your tune. And the something small is not a big amount of money. It is, you've taken care of my breakfast, dinner, and lunch for today.
And I'm grateful for that.
And I am grateful for that. And so that is where we are at right now with the people we are talking about as mobilized crowds, as paid crowds for politics. We've not even gotten into goons because that's a whole other economic ecosystem.
Just hold on to that because I want us to come to that. So is there any possibility then that as we now really get towards the campaign season in 2027, that the leaders who will say, me, I have a good manifesto. Wananchi, by the way, I don't have money, I don't have a godfather, but I'm telling you, I will do 1, 2, 3. Do you think they stand a chance really for victory?
I hope we stand a chance because I am one of them.
Okay.
And I do think there's a chance, if you ask me. And my manifesto is going to be just that. I currently am doing consultative meetings across the county with different groups of people, women. And I have heard what plagues us as women. I have heard what is stopping us as women from participating fully in contributing to this county's economics. So my manifesto at the end of the day is going to respond to those needs. So I do not see the point at the point where the manifesto is going to be presented and someone says, no, but those are not my priorities. I also do not see myself as one of the people that is going to be propelling tokenism. I mean, I understand the plight of the everyday mwananchi. I understand what people go through. I mean, when I came to Nairobi myself, I came here to study at the University of Nairobi. So nimekuwa comrade. So I know what kuinama is.
Okay.
Yeah. I have lived in a bed sit. I have lived in a single room. I have lived in a bed sitter in different places, by the way. And so when someone says they appreciate that 1,000 shillings or 500 shillings to be able to buy themselves a meal, I understand what that means.
And it's true that that makes a difference for them.
It is true that it makes a difference for people. However, it is us carrying our brains to the ballot. If someone gives you food to eat, eat it. In Swahili, they say, mtu akatai mwito, hukatai tiwalo. That means, I'll call you to sit. You will come and sit because we can have a discussion. You don't know the direction of it. However, you don't have to agree with everything I'm saying. So the same principle. I want for us to carry to the ballot. That you call me and give me money. Yes, I'll take it, I'll eat it. Niko na shida, by this sina food. Either mtu ya amefukuzwa fees. You know, I have not bought school uniform. There's so much.
So you agree to some extent with kula kwa huyu, kura kwa yule.
I agree, kula.
But what fabric then are we setting precedents for, like, our voters and the kind of expectations that they will have for people? Because personally, I don't agree with that. Because then we are greasing the wheels to keep going. And that is how corruption will keep going, because there's Wendy who will have spent 5 million, you know, and they cooled my 5 mic and they gave you your votes. Do you know it will get to a place where, as the elites of the country, you and I will have to do business, right? Because I have to recoup my 5M. There's no way that money will go down the drain. At the end of the day, Wilkister, who is suffering? It's the taxpayers. And that has always been my POV with kula kwa huyu, kura kwa yule. I'm like, okay, fine. At the end of the elections and the results are announced, both the ones who won and lost have to recoup their money in some way, form, shape, or manner. Yeah.
So, you know, mtaani, they say mboka ni mboka.
Wera ni wera.
Wera ni wera. I will tell you, kula, because at the end of the day, these are public coffers that have been pilfered. Whoever is bringing you that money, ameiba mahali. Because today your hard-earned money, are you going to stand outside in the street and distribute it?
No, because it's barely enough.
Exactly that. So any person who's dishing out money like that, and I've seen people dishing out ridiculous amounts of money.
That's true.
Per person, you know. And like I was telling you, there's a red card mtaani where people say, as we don't take less
nowadays,
than this.
Yeah.
No, nowadays, the cost of living has gone high. Therefore, the cost of handouts, you know, has also risen.
Gone high.
Yeah. So, hata mimi nimepandisha bei kidogo, in as much as I still do not have my meals and my rent and all of that for today. So I am not advocating for people to pilfer public offers. I am not advocating for people to go in and steal money. I would really love for myself and others like me to have a fair fighting chance, because the ground is not level when it comes to finances. And IEBC itself has failed to regulate the amount of money spent in election across the 6 political seats. I mean, figures will be issued, but how does that get down when it comes to implementation? And how does that get down when it comes to accountability? Who is keeping tabs?
Yeah.
How are you going to know that Wendy today spent 10 million bob in Dandora?
We don't have structures for accountability.
Yeah, so we don't have the structures that will allow them give that level of accountability to us Kenyans. So at the end of the day, a lot of politicians are going to get away with spending huge amounts of money, even for seats such as the member of county assembly, where, you know, it's ridiculous to hear someone is spending 20 million in campaigning.
You're like, what is your salary? Okay, fine. Your businesses, how are you coming up with this 20 mic for campaign?
Exactly that. If I even take the senator, for example, and look at how much a senator is paid, right?
Yeah.
So if I calculate the amount of money they're paid the whole year, it still does not amount to the amount of money they will spend in 3 villages.
All
not
right.
Commensurate.
Does that make you feel scared even as we get towards 2027? What emotions does this whole ecosystem bring for you as Wilkister, as a candidate for 2027?
It becomes sad for me when someone says, I cannot listen to you because you're not giving me money.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, I know where my heart is. I know what I can do for the people. I know the change that I can bring.
Yeah.
I know the systems that I can set up in place to help people, because it is also my lived experience that that is driving me towards this, because I know the life they're living and I have lived it.
Yeah.
And I know what got me out of it. Yeah. And I know what changed my life. So if I could use that and scale it to the point where it serves the 4 million people who are 4.3, I think, over in Nairobi currently, then I would do that gladly. Yeah. But it will pain me so much for someone to say, where tukuskizi, toka hapa, because hauna kitu ya kutupatia. So it definitely doesn't make me happy at all that
Okay.
that is actually happening currently. And like I said, a level playing ground, you know. I know games sometimes cannot be fair. There are people who have advantages over you. There are people who have had a head start. You know, I am competing against people who are much, much older than me.
That's right.
However, I cannot dismiss my experience. I cannot dismiss my journey to this point, and I cannot dismiss what I have done to change my life to the place where I am. And I believe that alone gives me the legitimacy to tell people what I can do for them. And so, if we could level the playing field on the financial front,
That would
which
be
is going to be a larger discussion later, because, like you said, people are going to recoup their money. They are going to come and give you money in 2027 before the general elections, and then they go quiet. You know, their phone lines are dead. Zile namba zote waliopewa wamenyonga.
Yeah.
So you can't reach them. In as much as at that point, then you have a genuine need. The difference between that person and myself is that I actually carry the aspirations of the people in my heart. It's just not in my mind of service. And at the end of the day, whatever my manifesto will say is something I will carry, whether I win or lose this election. Because I believe that there are things that can change to make the lives of people better.
Okay.
And the things that I'm going to put down in my manifesto, the points, the aspirations for economic prosperity for women in this economy in Nairobi County, I will still carry that.
Okay. Now let's get to one of the concerns your mom had. She was scared that she couldn't protect you away from her. We are seeing the culture of goonism go. I mean, it's on a steady trajectory of rising, Wilkister. And the old guards, I mean, they really don't care, you know? And we are seeing that have a ripple effect to our society. And I stand to be corrected, but the rate of crime is really going up in our country. And this is because when the so-called goons are not on the official jobs, what are they doing on a day-to-day? They're mugging people, you know? Last week only, I've been seeing on social media, like, uptown, what we would consider safer areas of living, Lavington, Kileleshwa, you can't take a jog, your phone is snatched. Your security guard snoozes for a minute, your compound has been ingeared. And these things are now being done in broad daylight. I strongly believe it is coming from the enabling of goonism by our politicians. This could be a barrier for women in politics. How do we stay safe? How do we navigate this space of goons and thugs and insecurity?
Yeah, I think I share in your sentiments that it is alarming what is happening. I think I saw someone's quote. I'm not sure who it is, and they said that their father would actually rise from their grave if they hear that it is now safer to pass through Kibra
Than it is
than
to.
it is to. Yeah,
I saw.
you saw that.
Yeah.
Because the and I don't want to even name names of the politicians, but there are people who created these animals that we have now that we are calling goons, and they were created to guard certain people.
Yeah.
Because when you go back to President Moi, he used the structures and systems of government to know what was happening on ground. So he was not the proponent of goons. But the people who were up against him had to use other means to counter the way he was using or asserting his own power and influence. And so, slowly by slowly, they started creating goons. They started creating, security, because they are called security around them. And security around them are young people that they're using to make sure, one, you're very rowdy, two, you're very rough. So that before Wendy comes to approach me, she has to come correct. Otherwise, my goons are going to deal
with them.
Yeah. And so this problem, it's not young people who want to get into these spaces, because the goons we have now, by the way, they're not as young as we think. They're not even Gen Z.
They're older.
They're older.
Okay.
They're older. The people I
thought
have,
it was the young kids that okay.
they're older. The people I have met that have told me, hapa utoki, are not Gen Z. They're older. So they were created by another system. They were created by other people, especially to counter government. And right now, both government and those out of government are using young people in the same way, because even some NDCs, there was a place, I think it is ODM, where we had Men in Black. Who are Men in Black?
Goons.
Exactly that. And so they have been used for a long time. And the number has kept growing and growing and growing. And goons are an economic problem. There are matters that we have failed to address as leaders. There are matters that we have failed to address as a government, because if young people had livelihoods,
there would not be.
When I leave my house in Eastlands in the morning, nikipita hivi inda, I see a lot of young men and women queuing outside of the factories waiting for work, because at some point they get chosen. Utaambiwa ingieni 10, the rest go. And at that point, there are like 100 people outside. So if people had work to do, especially work that is dignified, then I do not think anyone would have time to be paid 500 shillings, because sometimes they get only 500 shillings. And they even hire motorbike guys to do the same. 500 shillings vis-a-vis what a daily border rider makes in Nairobi. I mean, we pay exorbitant amounts. From Westlands to CBD alone, you might even pay 500 shillings.
That's
Who knows?
true.
So if they were meaningfully engaged, if there were opportunities for them, and I'm not just talking employment opportunities, I'm also talking about opportunities for them to become entrepreneurs, opportunities for them to also create employment for other people, because these people are youth, young people. They are some out of school, some dropped out of school so long ago. So we're talking about a skill set gap for them that makes it difficult for them to get into the workforce. So ni vitu za mkono wanaweza fanya. We're talking about unemployed young people or unemployed people who their parents paid their fees through TVETs, through tertiary institutions, through colleges and universities, and they do not have work to do. And at the end of the day, when you get to a certain age, your parent expects for you to move out.
And start your own way.
Fend
and
for
now
yourself.
Support them if at all.
Exactly that. And black tax comes sooner than you even think. You would think it's when you already have the job. The moment you step out of your parents' home, the moment you start coming late, because that's where it starts. Leo umekuja 9, unaona umegrow, move out. The day you move out, it doesn't matter whether you're trying to fend for yourself, they're already expecting you to help with bills back at home.
Wilkister, I was in some quarters where there was a conversation of, how during the protest they said the Gen Zs, the young people of this country, this demographic is a ticking time bomb. And someone said, quite literally, they are. And I want to allude to what you've said. We are steadily having a youth bulge that cannot be reintegrated into the society because they are not educated, they are not skilled, they are heavy on drugs. Like there's the 2-degree factor of deviation. Every day, kila kukicha, they are moving away from the normal trajectory of young people in this nation. And let's look at it beyond even 2027. If we don't get leaders who will factor this in, I'm guessing things like crime continue going off the roof. As a candidate seeking office, what vision is there for like young people? How do we go about the menace that is there already?
So for me, one thing that forms part of how I see women showing up in this county is safety is one of them. And safety is a lot of things for women, both young and older women. Safety is when I'm moving from my house to my place of work, can I get there without being mugged? Can I get there without being sexually harassed in a matatu? Can I get there without being raped? Can I get there without any of these things that constitute violence happening to me?
you.
So it is very important for us to consider safety. And I think the government that comes into play at the end of the day, because the Office of the Woman Rep cannot achieve this on their own. It will take collective effort to make sure that, we sanitize Nairobi, because what is there now is a whole mess from City Hall to Mta. It's a whole mess that has been created, and there are people benefiting in this process.
Sadly so.
I always say that anywhere where there's chaos, someone created it so they can benefit. So to have that whole population of goons, a mix of young people and older people, mostly young men. I do not dismiss that there are women as well who act in the same capacity. Mostly young men who created these monsters, who made our sons this way, that then they do not want to sit down and take part in the, in the day-to-day living of this country, who made sure that drugs reach our young people in the estates. Who is selling drugs, and why haven't they been nabbed? And so some of these things are not within my purview as a woman representative, but as a leader, I can still speak to them. And I am hoping that we also pay attention at the end of the day to the political party that we elect for government, because the ideals that they propagate are going to become law, So it is the same thing they're going to use in legislation. It is the same bills they're going to push in the National Assembly. If they're majority, there's decisions that they're going to be able to make that sometimes even the will of the people is not going to be enough to overturn. And for us even to be aware of our own rights, and I think maybe even use the recall clause for once, because I have never seen in the history of this country the electorate recalling any elected member. So perhaps even for us to start thinking that way, that we have power to recall these people. If tomorrow Wilkister Aduma is elected and she's not fulfilling the mandate or the promises that she made to the people of Nairobi, then recall that person. Recall that person. The issue of security is big. And whoever is the presidential candidate that will carry the aspirations of the real people of this country has to address the issue on security, has to address the issue on opportunities for women, youth, vulnerable groups, PWD, elderly, because there are reports of elderly women in the villages who live alone being raped by these very goons.
That's true.
Yeah, it is so sad. It is so sad to imagine your grandma is in the village and someone broke into her house and raped her.
Yeah.
Because now we have created monsters out of our sons that we're not able to contain. And I think we can expand opportunity. Yes, Nairobi has a huge population of people. But there's still so much. There's still so many sectors and subsectors that young people can find meaningful employment, that women can find gainful employment, that we can participate in this economy as entrepreneurs. We just need to create an enabling system, an enabling ecosystem for people to thrive in this place. And we need to think about legislation and policy more as creating systemic change as opposed to tokenism.
Yeah.
Wilkister,
I think one problem that has been highlighted in very subtle ways in different quarters and conversations is the electorate of this country knows what they don't want, but there's also a risk that they don't know what they want. Because we are seeing a trend where there's popularity and there's a mass following around popularity rather than what leaders can actually articulate they can do for themselves. As I do research, even for my podcast, sometimes you want to invite a political leader who has, a great following and they're causing a buzz on socials, but you really listen to them and how they answer the how, the why, the what will you do, and they can't. Do you think that stands as a risk even for us? That, okay, fine, we know one term or we know must go. We know when they shouldn't come back, but we also don't know the other person who is coming to fill in this seat? What are their roles? What are their responsibilities? What is our right as citizens?
The Kenyan voter is not stupid.
Okay.
I believe the Kenyan voter is a smart person.
Mm-hmm.
Like you said, they know what they want.
Mm-hmm.
A person who knows what they want is not stupid.
Mm-hmm.
The meetings that I have had, there are people who in the same meeting wananiambia, ukiingia sasa tungependa utusaidie hivi. Alafu wapo tu kwa meeting ataambia hiyo si role ya woman rep. You know.
Yeah.
So they know that, so much so that it is not even necessary for me to tell them the role of the woman rep. They know what exactly I'm supposed to do. I just need to tell them how and what I am going to do for them. That's different from what has been done.
Yeah.
And so for us to think differently about how we're engaging in the political process, because there's also a problem of amnesia, you know, voter amnesia, where when you get to the ballot, you vote in exactly what we have been complaining about.
Same fabric.
But you know, they also say that we vote in ourselves. We vote in what we see. For example, that person that you think is espousing the ideals you would wish to see at the end of the day, the majority voter do not relate to that person as being like them, as being one of them.
I see.
So ile drama inaendelea mtaani, that's the same drama that is now blown up in the National Assembly. And you see it, leave alone Kenya, you see it across Africa. I saw a clip of the parliament, Senegalese parliament, and you know, a man was being carried from the podium.
I saw that thing as well. Crazy, yes.
Yeah. So if you ask me, voters vote in the people they feel are most like them. But
So
all
do you
is
think
not
we're
lost.
deserving of the leaders we put in office?
All is not lost. They're actually leaders who have been elected, who have done a superb job.
Yeah.
You know, they are leaders who have been progressive about what they want to see for the people. I have seen a few of them.
Yeah.
And so there is hope for us as leaders who believe in the same. And there's also hope for the electorate not to think that now we are done for. That when you get your ballot paper, you just look and say, let's are evil. You know, that there are options presented to you that when you're voting, you actually feel like it was an actual task. It was a hard job for you to pick between Wendy and Aduma.
Because
Yeah. So we have not presented that. We have not presented value on the ballot. Again, it's because people who think they are good do not want to involve themselves in the political processes, both men and women, you know.
Let me ask you, interesting you bring that up. Politics in our country has been deemed for dirty people, people who are not so learned, you know, people who are... That's true. I mean, someone would ask, you're so beautiful, you're intelligent, you went to school, you're practicing in law, why are you going to politics? You know, because politics has been deemed as a space for dwarfs, let's call it that. And yet these are people who represent us. What's the balance? Is it true? Is it not true? Because Wilkister, sengine hata kututetea na kutetea waheshimiwa wetu ni ngumu. We can see across, for example, Nairobi, the kind of leaders we've had, you know, criminal records, corruption cases, gone to like the highest office of law, fighting cases and cases and cases, and still they win with a landslide. So I don't know. Are we at fault to say that? Yeah, I mean, politics could be for...
Absolutely not. Politics is for all of us. It affects your day-to-day life. When I talk to buddies in the universities, I tell them politics will affect the cost of your lipstick. You know, at the end of the day, there's taxation being put on cosmetic products. And there's a government that is doing that. And if you're not having conversations, if you're not participating, then soon enough, utakuwa unatumia tu lip gloss peke yake, because you know you can get it for 50 bob somewhere. You can't afford all the other products. Or worse yet, you're going to buy fake products that are being brought into this country, and a government that is not even checking what we are consuming as women, what you have on your face, whether it's a legit Fenty or it's a fake Fenty. You don't even know that. And if you haven't ever tried the legit products,
You wouldn't know.
You wouldn't know, because you're a young person, you're excited, your counterparts on TikTok are using all of this, you're going to use that.
Yeah.
And so if you think politics is for politicians, and politicians being the typical definition you've given of intellectual dwarfs, then that cannot be it. We cannot sit aside and leave politics to people who do not even have a grasp of what people need. Okay, maybe they may have lived in the communities that we come from,
But
they may have gone through the same problems, but the difference needs to be that they are able to solve those problems and solve them long term. Not someone who wakes up and just does something that ukikula sahi ukule sijui utumie gas iishe alafu how will you refill that cylinder?
problem.
I hear they're distributing rice and beans. So ukishakula rice and beans alafu, what happens? Are you able to buy yourself more? So we need
It's
to
not
think
sustainable.
about, we need to think about long term. We need to think about, how can I do this for myself? If someone knows how to fish, are they teaching me how to fish? If they're not teaching me how to fish, are they setting up systems that will allow us fish? Even if it's half a fish every day that I am guaranteed to this.
Okay.
We need to be thinking differently about that. And the popularity politics that does play a big role in that, because the people who shout the loudest, the people who are most vulgar are often celebrated, you know. However, for me to get down to do the work, and I believe myself to be a worker, anywhere I have held office, I have always been a worker. So for someone like me who just wants to do, make sure all of this is done, it becomes very difficult for us to say, look, mimi nimekuja tu hapa niko job, I want to serve. That's what I want to do. And for people to actually believe and buy that, you know, which is going to take a hard labor of love, because it's a labor of love for me.
For sure.
To convince these people that I actually, you know, will legislate, oversight, represent exactly what the way I'm supposed to, and exactly, and in the interest of the people that will have, I'll be serving when I am in office.
Yeah.
So I think for us to just think differently, constantly wake up. There are people who are awakening, you know, the people you're talking about on social media. But can we move from the
digital part to kwa ground?
Yeah, because hata uko digital, unajua goons wako digital. There are very many Facebook pages where they can just open to troll you. You know, we've not even talked about technology facilitated violence, where it's now so much, and it's going to get worse.
Have you experienced it personally?
I have seen some goons on my socials. However, for me, I have created a community over time. So the people I call friends online, I may never have met them, but someone will bump into me and say, hey, I saw you, you were chilling with Wendy at place X. I didn't say hi, but I saw you, you know? So I have created a community over time. And people like that are normally answered by my community for the most part. So they don't normally worry me a lot. But things like that can take a toll on people who are entering the political space for the first time.
Yeah.
That you have never seen, you know, someone calling you the things they're calling you. Because in 2018, for me, it was worse. I was much younger, much younger. So the things I was saying were being misconstrued in the public eye. And I did not have any place where I could go air my views and say, oh, because the media will also not call a 24-year-old Wilkister Aduma. They will call an experienced person X who, like you're saying, is popular. So that, again, they're looking at eyeballs.
Yeah, the numbers, the views, what
views.
drives for them.
Exactly that. And so for someone who has never experienced that, they will find it very difficult to, you know, enter the political space. But like I've been told, and to also other young women, to encourage them to also just take part in the discourse of this country, whether you're running for office, whether you're helping someone run for office, whether you want to serve in public office, because there are appointive offices as well, that we need numbers. We need a critical mass. It cannot just be me. It has to be me and 100 others at least, you know?
Allow me to bring in this and just give you time to give a reflection on it. That's why I hold this podcast. And here at Speak Up Africa, we continue to bring conversations that aim to inform, engage, and empower. Because I believe, Wilkister, when you're empowered, you have more leverage to show up in spaces better and the community that you're seeing. One thing was encouraging throughout the conversation. You kept saying, there is light, all is not lost, so there is hope. How do women, young women for that matter, who are eyeing the political scene, how can they get themselves ready, prepare themselves, and brace themselves for what this space is all about?
Yeah. I see very many vocal young women online, very many, and they speak so much sense, to the point where I follow silently sometimes. And so I want to imagine those brains that we have, the way they're expressing issues, the way they understand matters, the way they have solutions for the same things they're speaking about. And imagine a National Assembly that would have them. Yeah, I can name a few, but I want to imagine a National Assembly where I am seated across from someone like Tatiana Gisheru,
Yeah.
and a few others like her. And there are so many young women like that who still will not step up into the political leadership because of what they have heard about it. But if I am here, a lot more people can come here. In fact, if my candidacy serves nothing else, let it serve to inspire young women. Let it serve to inspire generations that are coming way after me, even Gen Alpha, to show up in the political space and have a voice and a seat at the table. At the end of the day, the first thing I was told, I have not had older mentors, by the way. I think it is important for people listening to this podcast to know that I have had peer mentors. So it is my friends or peers within the same space who have mentored me, who have opened doors for me. I have had the privilege of sitting down with older women in politics to have conversation.
Have they been welcoming? Have they been mean? Have they... How has it? Because sorry, and really sorry to cut your chain of thoughts. There's always that fear of women we are our own enemies. A woman will tear you down. A woman will bring your vision down. How has your experience been? I like the way you said, you've had it peer in a horizontal axis and in a vertical axis as well. Has it been open, welcoming, mean?
I don't normally even say that statement. I don't say that statement.
Yeah.
I don't normally say it at all. And anytime I hear it anywhere, it's the first thing I will destroy. I don't believe that.
Okay.
The people who have opened doors for me are women.
Okay.
Yeah. I can count 2 men, literally. I can count 2 men who have said, look, there's an opportunity here. You're good for it, and I am recommending you, and I get it.
Yeah.
However, I lose count of women that have done that.
Okay.
And recently, by the way, I've been getting flowers back from myself, literal flowers, where they were saying, thank you for opening a door. And the best bouquets of flowers I've received have been from women who are saying, thank you for opening the door for me.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Okay.
So women being their own enemies is a fallacy. It's a narrative created to divide further people who already hold themselves in suspicion. Yeah. I don't believe it. I don't subscribe to it. If someone doesn't support me, it doesn't come down to she's now my enemy because I'm a woman. No.
Yeah.
It doesn't come down to that for me. Women are people at the end of the day.
Yeah.
We are free to make our own choices. If Wendy is vying today and I don't believe in Wendy, I am open to support someone else.
And leave it at that. It doesn't have to be enmity or animosity.
No, leave it at that. It doesn't have to be that. And even in office politics, because I think there are spaces where these things show up so much. And because I've also worked in corporate and experienced bullying, workplace bullying myself from a woman. It was not because she was my worst enemy. It was because she had her own motivations politically in the place where we were working to do what she did. And so, to prepare young women to come into this space, the first thing I was told is thick skin.
Mm.
Thick skin. And I asked for so many years, what do you mean grow thick skin? You know, do you ever get used to hearing people say all these mean things?
Mm.
But imagine those ninjas, what the keyboard warriors, keyboard ninjas that we have in the online space. Imagine them physically there with you.
It can be tough.
Yes. Imagine all those mean comments sitting there with you in the same room and you're listening to them.
Mm.
However, the mind tricks us sometimes that you pay more attention to the negative than you do the positive. Because I am certain the positive comments outweigh the negative. But your mind
then you're
wants you
actually
to just
right.
think about the person who said, I hate your lip gloss. Kwanza hizo sijui nini zako kubwa, sijui nini. That's where your mind wants to focus.
True.
But there's so much more to you.
Yeah.
And building self-awareness. I have worked with coaches to build self-awareness. In fact, after this, I'm going to see my coach.
Yeah.
It is important for you to build self-awareness so that there are things that do not get you and they get through to you. You know, you can hear things, but they should bounce off of you, especially if they do not define who you are. So for anyone who's been told, build thick skin, that is what it means. Build self-awareness to the point you know yourself so well, you understand yourself so well that things that people say about you that are not true do not move you.
They bounce.
Even if they were true and it's a half truth and a half lie, they bounce off. That's it.
That's powerful. That's powerful. Do you think our male counterparts are encouraged in the same way, or it's just as a woman you need that thick skin? Do you think guys are also told, manze bosi, he huku itabidi ukuwe na thick skin, itabidi ukuwe na self-awareness? Do you think it cuts across?
They don't tell themselves that, but they
Okay.
do it. Men do not come out to have these conversations out loud.
All right.
But they do it. Have you ever seen them when they're embarrassed? By their own counterparts. Even in arguments, have you ever seen them when they're embarrassed? Yes. There's so many incidences. The only thing they don't do is they won't come out publicly to speak about these things.
And make a big deal out of it.
Okay. But I will speak up, particularly because I do not want other young women not to step up into this space. I will speak up because I'm holding space for people.
Okay.
So it happens to everyone. I think it just becomes a larger conversation for women. And also because we are entering a male-dominated space. So most of these utterances, most of these acts that are going to be meted against you are going to come from your male counterparts.
Yeah.
You know, there was a time when I was in West Pokot. I was working for an NGO then on women's rights. And I'd gone to see the Kapenguria cells. Yeah, the Kapenguria 6 place. And outside the county assembly, there were women demonstrating. It was like, I asked someone, what is going on here? What is happening? Why are the women out? And they told me, there is a woman who is speaker currently. She's the only woman in the county assembly. Because in West Pokot, as a woman, you cannot call a meeting, let alone Nairobi, where I can go and say, nataka kutana na nyinyi kujeni. So even for a woman to campaign there is something different. So the only woman who was in the county assembly as speaker is the one they now wanted out.
Why?
Women are not their own worst enemies. These women were paid by men to show up and say that this woman has failed us.
Oh, no.
And she was removed, actually. Painfully so.
Okay.
So
sad affair.
That's why I say we need critical mass. It cannot just be me. It cannot just be Bad Girl Millie. It has to be Bad Girl Millie and like 100 others. 100 others or millions others even.
Okay. I've really enjoyed this conversation. We've highlighted some of the barriers we face, but there is hope. As we come to the culmination of this conversation, Wilkister, what kind of a leader do you aspire to be? You can talk to your people of Nairobi.
I wish I came with my letter. My manifesto starts with a letter to the people of Nairobi. I wish I had it with
Yeah.
me to just read it to the people of Nairobi.
Mm.
But as Wilkister Aduma, as the leader I have been, and now the leader I aspire to be for Nairobi County, is a leader that one listens. Because at the end of the day, what I legislate, what I represent, what I oversight has to speak to the needs of the common mwananchi. Often members of parliament say that their work is in the floor of the house. My work is going to be on the ground and on the floor of the house, because both have to work in tandem. And so for me, it's bringing together people. For me, it's listening to people. And for me, it's carrying the common good, and carrying the aspirations of the people of Nairobi in my heart. Because I have lived as a Nairobian. I have, done the bedsitter life. I have done the Kuinama life as a comrade, and now to building myself to the space where I am. And I hope to be able to do this to Nairobians, to women, to youth, to the elderly, and to the PWD.
Fantastic. Well articulated. Aduma, I've enjoyed this conversation. I am hoping to engage with you around different other facets and elements of just unpacking conversations that are helpful to our people. Really, from Speak Up Africa, we wish you all the very best.
Thank you.
May these barriers not be a place of holding your victory aback. And thank you for making time to come to Speak Up Africa.
Thank you so much, Wendy. I appreciate it.
All right. Thank you for joining us for this conversation today. And the truth is, it won't take Bad Girl Millie only or Wilkister only. We really need to rally around women who are seeking leadership to bring a difference to our communities. And one of the ways is, as you have done, engaging with us here at Speak Up Africa for this podcast episode. Thank you, thank you, thank you. For now, we will love you and leave you. I will be seeing you on the next one. My name is Wendy Lois. Kwaheri.